Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC. This is Formula Sprint 1 day from the Portimao circuit in Portugal, in the Algarve in fact. Very sunny, and you see there is not a cloud in sight. We have two races for you today. Race 1 will be 33 laps, race 2 will be 22 laps. We're just about to start the 15-minute qualifying session. So this will be the time when we start to see exactly where everyone is going to be lining up in terms of the order today. There's the circuit on your screen. In my opinion, the most difficult circuit on the calendar apart from street circuits. There are some corners here that are absolutely devastating and catch you out every single time. The hairpins you see there, turn 5 and then turn 7 as well, are some of the real accident black spots on the circuit. And there's a massive awkward crest over the top of the hill at turn 4 as well, which causes the car to lose control if you try to go over it flat out and don't get your line right. The qualifying session has now begun. You see one of the Nova Simracing cars heading out onto the circuit there. And car number 42 is Owen McGorgy, who leads us around. 15 minutes to come up. Let me talk you through some of the headlines for this race. Looks as if we've only got 26 cars out there at the minute, out of a possible 30. Alexander Ragosa may be coming back as he's just left the session, probably will be coming back. There are some brand new names in this series. Sophie Aronwinen is driving the second E-Team Brit car along with Martin Buchan, and Sophie has not driven in the series previously. She is replacing James Lambert, who had that seat before. And right now, I believe you're looking at Alex Laho, who has once again decided to make an outing in the Santon Motorsports vehicle. The other new name that I noticed was Sandro Van Sand. He's currently in the pits in one of the Alpha Delta racing cars, replacing Kenneth Singleton, who raced in the Formula Sprint 2 series the other day. And Sandro has raced in GPVWC before, although only once, and that was the other day with the Academy series. Made his first outing at the Highlands Raceway, and unfortunately retired after 3 laps and then did not show up for race 2. So we're yet to see exactly what Sandro Van Sand has got and how good he actually is. Where did he qualify for that race? Let me look that up quickly. P8 out of 14. So Sandro making his first proper career ladder. Oh, that's a slide and a big mistake from Alex Laho. And you see there just how difficult it is. That hairpin is definitely going to be a tricky spot, a tricky turn to tame throughout the course of the day. The car bottoms out in the middle of the corner due to the strange banked nature of it. So it actually helps to raise your ride height slightly, but then of course you lose grip and you lose stability on some other parts of the circuit as well. Here's another slightly banked corner. Feels like a wave when you go through that. And then we have an off-camber turn. Very off-camber turn. It's so difficult to hit your marks into that. And it's one of those turns where you don't want it to be so wide because it can make it very difficult if you turn in too early. Darius Andre about to complete a flying lap, 121.433, so that's the benchmark for the time being, as other cars fly across the line now. Owen McGorgy goes second place, and Amari Watson goes third. Now unfortunately I'm not being joined today by Ross McIntyre, he is away, although I am still being joined by my regular Formula Sprint 1 broadcast director, Szymon Frelik, who is providing you with all of the sights and sounds that you are seeing and hearing right now, as well as the graphics that you are seeing on screen, which were designed by the GPVWC broadcast team. Across the line goes Mike Quint, P20 at the current time. Some ground to be gained for the GPVWC regular. Here's Vincent Gutt in the Valley Esports car. Let me get up the live timing quickly. Let's see who is going to be improving on their times. We're still very early in the session, of course. It's later on when the track is properly rubbered in that you start to see the proper proper times coming in. 28 cars in the session now. We've gained Seva Panasenko, who was also racing in the Academy Series race the other day, and he will be racing for Smile Power Racing today. 4 drivers, including Seva, yet to set flying laps. This part of the circuit you're looking at now, Sandro Van Zandt coming up towards another extremely tricky corner over the crest of a hill where the car wants to lose control. Flat out through a left-hander, and then we have a difficult double right. You've got to clip the second apex there where you see the sausage curb on the inside. But of course you shouldn't touch the sausage curb itself because that is pretty dangerous. Another big sausage curb on the inside there, and then we head out towards the penultimate corner, and the final turn is completely flat as well, and it can be a bit of a tyre destroyer there. You want to keep the angle as shallow as possible, and then put the power down and open the DRS, as you see Sandro Van Zandt doing, and he goes P16. I've been messaged by Toby Davis. Toby Davis, of course, working closely with the Nocturne drivers, reminding me that Moritz Kropp, our championship leader, is currently racing from the World Pro Racing Centre in Malta, and he wasn't necessarily going to be racing today due to his holiday, but he's managed to find a space, he's managed to book out the facility, and he will be racing from the World Pro Racing Centre in Malta. World Pro Racing have come a long way. They run another racing series. I used to commentate for them back when they were a very, very small league, but they've done a lot of good for the sim racing scene in Malta itself. So yeah, good luck to Moritz Kropp there. In terms of the championship, I should probably let you know about that now before it starts to really kick off in the qualifying session. It's Moritz Kropp currently leading that. Moritz by 1 point over Owen McGorgy after the first 3 rounds. It's been a very close championship so far. And then also right up there you've got Frank Hamming and Tom Stevens, 3rd and 4th in the standings. And there's a bit of a gap back to Amari Watson in 5th place, and Jake Dennehan, Darius Andre, Mike Quint, Jason Muscat and Alexander Ragosa are the top 10 in the standings right now, and only the top 4 of those have got victories so far from the 6 races that we've had. In terms of the teams as well, the Nocturne team of Moritz Kropp and Tom Stevens is leading by 43 points over 33 points over HGP Motorsport, Amari Watson and Frank Hamming. And you've got Nova Sim Racing, TCS Off Racing and Malta Force GP, the top 5 in the championship. So, under 8 minutes to go now. Owen McGorgy still leading, followed by Andre and Watson. The times pretty much exactly as they were at the start of the session, but you see Andre there improving. McGorgy did improve on his time a little while ago. He's now on a 1:21.121. That is a lot of 1s and 2s there. Darius Andre. The purple sector in the first sector is a true purple, but he's now in the pits, so Darius will not be improving on this time. What I mean by a true purple there is sometimes if a sector time shows up as purple on the graphics, that means that they're just faster than the leader in that sector. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were the fastest overall, but a true purple is when you're the fastest overall out of anyone in a particular sector. Under 7 minutes to go in the session now. Slight improvement from Scott Mitchell, actually quite an improvement there. Going up to P11. Who's currently one of the front runners in the Formula Sprint 2 Championship. Obviously trying his hand at Formula Sprint 1 today with Valley Esports. And he is replacing... Actually, Valley have had a bit of a revolving door of drivers so far, but last time out they had Heis Sonneveld in that car, and Sonneveld obviously not here today. 4 different drivers in the first 4 rounds. That's not necessarily the stability that you want when it comes to a championship like this. But Scott Mitchell is a pretty good driver. And could he be the super sub that Valley Esports need today? Only one team yet to score points in this championship, E-Team Brit. Their drivers today, Martin Buchan and Sophie Aronwinen. Buchan got very close in race 1 at Australia, P16. But no points yet for that team, and I'm afraid they've had quite a few DNFs. There is Mike Quinn, across the line, stays P7. Ada Erkan now, currently P20, improving slightly. Meanwhile, almost everyone has set laps, save Panasenko, the only driver yet to complete a flying lap. He's currently on one. Jason Muscat there, P8 in the Multiforce car. Only a tiny fraction, a sliver of a second behind Mike Quinn in 7th place. And he's now going to come across the line. Keeps it very tight to the inside there, that's interesting. Tom Stevens improves to P6. No, sorry, that was Muscat that I was seeing improve. And he has now jumped Mike Quinn. Oh, never mind. Menno Klunt jumps him. So Klunt now up into P7, and there's a row of Multiforce cars there. So Panasenko stopping on the start-finish straight. He will not be able to go out again in this session, so 27th is the best that he will do, unfortunately. Magorki now on another fast lap. He's currently got quite a gap in this session, over 0.3 of a second, and he's improving once again. His teammate Craig Patton is a little further down the order, although now up into P8. And here is Magorki, slightly down on his best in the second sector, and he spins! It's a full 360, so he's going to be able to get back to the pits. Keeps the engine running. No improvement this time around, but he would have wanted his best lap to come right at the end of the session anyway. Philip Koenig's lost his rear wing. That's going to be tricky to get back. Only fast corners from here. He's got to resist the temptation to do that and go way too fast on the way back. Sometimes it's better if you lose both your front and rear wing, because at least then the car's balanced and you can get it back to the pits easier. Acts like a dune buggy or a Caterham there, rather than a front-heavy nightmare. But Philip does make it back to the pits now, and will be able to go out again. Hopefully the drivers, if there are any drivers, apart from Sava Panasenko, who have come back to the pits, not under their own steam, hopefully all of those drivers know that they can't go out again. Otherwise they may incur the wrath of the stewards later on. Jake Dennehan, an improvement in the first sector. It's not the fastest we've seen. His teammate Andre has gone quicker in that sector, but it's a personal best from Dennehan. Up through, I believe that's turn 7. Big twitch, gets over the curb and into the grass. That's not what you would want to be doing there. Dennehan will bail out of that lap. Frank Hamming is P3 in the championship. A little further down in the session so far. Only P12 as it stands. Not too bad, but he'll be losing some points if he finishes there in any of the races. There are 2 real cut-offs that you want to be looking out for in this series. P10 is the lowest position you could finish to qualify on reverse grid pole in race 1, as Frank Hamming goes up to P7. So in race 1 I'll be talking about that top 10 quite a lot. And then in both races, P15 is the cutoff for points. So 15th place scores a point, 16th place does not. Tom Stevens improves to P4. Owen Magorki is looking more and more like he's got this in the bag now, because not only is he still 0.3 of a second faster than anyone else, but he's just set another fastest first sector of anyone. as Mike Bell goes P20. Here is Owen McGorgy up through the flat out left towards the double apex right-hander. Runs wide, that's going to cost him some time. I think that may be that lap down the drain. He may just have enough time to start another flying lap though, if he has the tyres and fuel for it. I should probably get up a track map so I know exactly what the corner's official names and numbers are. Jason Muscat, currently P11, trying to get into the top 10. Then again, 11th isn't a bad place to start. You get a free choice of tyres if you qualify 11th. P10 goes Jason Muscat. The time continues to tick down. We're about to see the checkered flag for the first few of these cars. Murray Watson's in the corner that is apparently called Galp, turn 15. Keeps it tight on the exit. And goes 4th, so there is an improvement for Amari Watson. Stevens will not improve, he's in the pits. Moritz Kropp is improving, the championship leader, not on his current hardware, is adapting to this pretty darn well. Coming through the final corner. And if he can get within half a second of the pole time, that would be extremely impressive on this current setup. Oh, just about. He stays 6th, but he's only 0.499 off pole position. There's damage limitation today from Moritz Kropp, but he's doing it extremely well. Jake Dennehan is down in the first sector. He's down in the second sector and quite a long way down. I think we can safely say now that Owen McGorky is going to take pole here. I think Dennehan will be knowing it too. And it looks as if the top... well, it looks as if all the positions are pretty much claimed now. Dennehan out to the final turn. Andre pips him to second. So Darius Andre goes second in the other TTS off. It's TTS off's second and third. But Owen McGorky has got pole position. Wasn't by as much in the end as it looked as if it was going to be. Only half a tenth of a second, but still a pole position for Owen McGorky and Nova Simracing. Darius Andre and Jake Dennehan are second and third. Amari Watson is 4th. Then Tom Stevens, Moritz Kropp, Frank Hamming, Mike Quint, Craig Patterson, and Jason Muscat the top 10. And there are no penalties, no impending penalties. So all of this is official. Manu Plant P11, then Scott Mitchell, Mateusz Jabinski, Damian Kardash, Alexander Ragosa, Luke Mitchell, also racing today, Scott's brother, Vincent Gutt P17, then Sandro Van Sand, Justin van der Smissen, and Alex Lahu, the two Santon cars together. Arda Erkan, Philip Koenig, Mike Bell, Martin Buchan, Perseus Miram, Kierat de Vries, Sava Panasenko, and Sophie Aronwinen. So that is your order. All 28 cars. Showing there is P27 because someone left the server, although we'll be coming back for the race. Good job there for Owen McGorky. Now, since it's only me in the commentary box today, and I don't have a co-commentator, I think we're going to go for a brief break, and then we will be back with about 4 or 5 minutes to go in the warm-up session to talk you through the proceedings before the start of the first race. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. We are still here at Portimao in the Algarve in Portugal, and we're just getting ready for the start of the first race. The timer has ticked almost to zero now on the warm-up session. We're going to see the checkered flag in less than a minute, and then it'll just be about getting it all set up and ready for the start. I've just seen an interesting stat in the YouTube chat. According to Yvonne Hufala, Sophie only has 5 hours in the game, with Sophie being Sophie Aronwinen. Now, 5 hours is not enough time to practice for a Formula Sprint 1 race, let alone have that amount of time be your entire R Factor 2 career. So it is going to be fascinating to see how she does out there, and I wish her the best of luck. But yeah, that's quite something there. And being thrown right in at the deep end with Formula Sprint 1, these drivers are absolute aliens. And this circuit as well, you need to be an alien to drive it properly. It's quite treacherous. Again, in my opinion, probably the most difficult circuit, permanent racing circuit that there is on the calendar. Obviously, you have different issues at certain street circuits like Monaco, with the barriers being so close to the circuit. But at Portimao, you're much more likely to go for a spin, overcook it on the throttle, or over a crest or a bank corner. Yeah, it's very, very tricky. And these are long races too. I mean, the first race is going to be about an hour long. The second one's going to be about 40 minutes. That's a long time for you to keep your concentration, especially if you're having to learn a new sim as you go. Anyway, the race director now reminding everyone to make sure that they take care in the opening laps and not talk in the YouTube in the game chat until everyone has finished their flying laps. I just saw someone flying backwards down the start-finish straight. That's not a good omen. But oh well, at least they got that out of the way in qualifying rather than in the race. There you see the circuit, 4.692 kilometers in length, meaning 33 laps will be long enough for the first race here. Everyone has to make a pit stop in this race because they have to use at least 2 compounds of tyre. The soft compound is the red walled tyre, and the yellow walled tyre will be the harder compound of tyre, or the mediums. And here we go, all the drivers lining up now on the grid. They're going to go for a formation lap just to warm up their tyres and see the track for one last time before they go at it in anger. And then when the lights go out, 33 laps of racing. It may well be a 2-car fight here. Owen McGorky and Darius Andre were quite a long way ahead of the rest of the field in qualifying. Jake Dennehan, though, will be up there attempting to help his own chances and help TCS off as a whole. He and Darius Andre very evenly matched. They fought for the Formula Sprint 2 championship last year when it was Formula Challenge, and now they're fighting for the win in Formula Sprint 1. Let's see the starting order once again, just in case you missed qualifying. Owen McGorky is on pole, followed by Darius Andre and Jake Dennehan, the 2 TCS off cars, and then Amari Watson in 4th position in the HGP. The Nocturnes of Tom Stevens and Moritz Kropp are 5th and 6th, those 2 leading the team's championship. Then it's Frank Hamming and Mike Quinn, Craig Patterson, Jason Muscat, Menu Clont and Scott Mitchell. Down to P12. We're still in the point scoring positions here, it goes down to 15. Mateusz Binsky 13th, then Damian Kardash, Alexander Ragosa, and Luke Mitchell, current Formula Sprint 2 championship leader, is in 16th. Vincent Gupp P17, then Sandro Van Sand making his first Formula Sprint 1 appearance, Justin van der Smissen and then Alex Lahoe, the two Santon Motorsport cars, come next. Ada Erkan, Philip Koenig, Mike Bell and Martin Buchan. Down to P24. Just 4 cars to go on the grid. Perseus Miram, Gerrit Vries, Seva Panisenko, and then Sophie Aronwinen in what sounds like her first R-Factor 2 race full stop, let alone GPVWC outing. So 28 cars heading to the grid now for the start of the first race here today. Scott Mitchell will be the top driver on the harder compound of tyre. S for softer, H for harder there on the right hand side of the timing tower. And he'll be an interesting one to look out for in terms of strategy. Both Mitchells actually on the hard tyre, but everyone else in the top 20 starting on the softest compound. It's always good for the start of a race because when you try to put the power down and then carve your way through the field at the start, you want to have a lot of grip. It's just later on that it starts to play into the hands of the drivers who started on soft, especially if they can fend plenty of cars off before the pit stop stages. There is the last car in position now. 5 red lights will illuminate at the front of the grid, and when they go out, we'll be underway for 33 laps of racing. Owen McGorgy has pole alongside him. There is Andre, and go! And it's a better start for Andre. Andre's going to be alongside Owen McGorgy. He jinks to the left now, and McGorgy does hold the lead down into turn 1. He gets through. It looks as if there's a couple of cars in contact further back. Someone went for a spin. Philip Koenig is facing the wrong way. Up in front, McGorgy fending off Darius Andre up through turn 4, even though the TCSoft driver had a little glance there. Denahan is still 3rd. Tom Stevens is up to 4th. Our championship leader, still 6th at the end of the first sector, drops to 7th now. He's been passed by Frank Hamming. They're going to go side by side up towards turn 6. Oh, and a slight contact between Kropp and Hamming. And they just about survived there. 2 of the main championship contenders. Still very early in the season to be talking about the championship, but you don't want to be making mistakes like that. There are still a lot of points on offer. Scott Mitchell has had a shunt. He's missing both his front and rear wings, and Seva Panisenko is upside down. Now, is that related? Here's a replay. Scott Mitchell coming through turn 6, loses control, and clatters into the barriers. And are we going to see Panisenko coming out of nowhere as well? Doesn't look like it. Panisenko, incidentally, is now the right way up and back in the race. Now, across the start-finish line they go for the first time. McGorgy leading, followed by Andre, Denahan, and Stevens. Mike Quint has just passed Frank Hamming for P7 there. So Mike Quint makes up a place. He's the top driver to do so at the end of the first lap. Patson and Clont very close now with Ragosa all over their tail. Alex Lahoe's been for a spin. All the way around. You see him at the bottom of your screen, and someone else went around there, and it was Luke Mitchell. So Luke Mitchell, the Formula Sprint 2 leader, has been for a spin. Couple of spins so far. You'll be seeing that a lot throughout this race. This circuit really lends itself. The cars rotating around themselves. Here's a replay, and this is of Alex Lahoe's spin. Oh my goodness, he really got caught out by that car up ahead of him. That was Luke Mitchell, and then Mitchell ended up having a little ding-dong with Lahoe's Santon Motorsports teammate and ended up going round himself. McGorgy, Andre, and Denahan, the top 3. The other Nova car of Craig Patterson, 10th place now, but right on the tail of Jason Muscat. Panisenko and Mitchell both into the pits at the end of the first lap. No surprise for Panisenko. In real life, he would undoubtedly be out of the race here. He's very lucky that we're on a sim, because that looks as if it was quite a nasty accident that occurred near the back of the field. Damien Kardash taking a look now. P13, Mateusz Szybinski. We're on lap 3, so DRS will be enabled And the first DRS zone, the leaders are in now. So one between turns 4 and 5. Another yellow flag in sector 1. And this time it's Alex Lahoe who does not have a rear wing. So Lahoe has hit the wall backwards, or had someone else rear-end him potentially. And he becomes the first retirement of the race, obviously feeling that it's not worth getting back to the pits all that distance without a rear wing, and Luke Mitchell's just been tipped into a spin. That was contact with Gerrit de Vries. So de Vries touched the rear of Luke Mitchell's car, and Mitchell went all the way around. Alexander Ragosa is P12. Still 27 cars remaining in this race, although it's gonna be a day of relative attrition. Andre's pretty close to the back of Owen McGorgy here. He's got the DRS open. There are 2 DRS zones on this circuit. There was the first one, and Jason Muscat goes up the inside of Frank Hamming. Hamming losing place in the early stages. Another brief yellow. And McGorgy goes very defensive now as they go onto the second DRS zone. He pulled right over to the left on the exit of that corner. Feeling the pressure from the 2 TCSoft Racing cars behind him. The DRS train goes all the way back to 7th place, so the leader's not getting away just yet in this race. Another yellow flag. Pretty much all of these yellows that you see will be drivers having little spins. Justin van der Smissen has just had a shunt on the way coming into the pit lane. So van der Smissen is trying to 3-point turn his way, and Frank Hamming's had a spin. So Frank Hamming now is down to P15. And I believe you may have seen that on stream. Well, here we're about to see it. Oh, no, now we are. He's already off at that point. That's down at turn 6 there in the gravel. One of the many Axton black spots of this circuit. He's got on the curb, and at that point the car just rail slides like a skateboard, and he could do nothing but run off the road. And Andre takes the lead. So Darius Andre has been up the inside of Owen McGorgy, and he's taken the lead of the race down into turn 1 with the slipstream and the DRS. McGorgy will have a chance to fight back on the exit, but he has a big twitch in the turbulent air. Does get a run though. Makes a dive. McGorgy lunges. Andre may have a chance to come back at him, and he does not. So good racing there from Owen McGorgy to claim the lead straight back again. It's a 4th and back race at the front of the order on lap 5 out of 33. Dennehan right there as well. The DRS train still extends way back to 6th position. Moritz Kropp is in 6th place, so our championship lead is still very much in contention in this race, despite being on unfamiliar hardware. Andre into the right-hander. Turn 14. Trying to set up another move, like the one he made a lap ago. Jake Dennehan would have DRS here even if it wasn't for Darius Andre directly ahead of him, because even he is close enough to Owen McGorgy now. Andre slipstreams, goes up the inside, and once again, just as he did a lap ago, Darius Andre, and he slides, he makes a mistake on the exit, McGorgy takes a look. Andre goes really defensive. Now he's got to think about setting himself up for the DRS zone, and look! And that's Jake Dennehan's wheel you see on the right-hand side. McGorgy sees him coming. Dennehan is going to snatch the 2nd place away. Oh, they touch slightly. McGorgy is still there. They're going to rub wheels on a big slide. Big slide for Jake Dennehan. Puts Tom Stevens up to 3rd. Amari Watson coming through on the inside as well. McGorgy keeps 2nd. McGorgy is 2nd, Stevens is 3rd, and Dennehan is able to fend off Amari Watson for 4th. That really backfired for Jake Dennehan there, because Owen McGorgy was not going to give that place up. But I tell you what, he's done his job. He's helped Darius Andre to keep the lead of the race there. Darius leads. Jason Muscat just passed Mike Quint there for P7. And McGorgy is out of DRS range of Darius Andre. He's going to be a sitting duck on the pit straight, just as he was a lap ago to Darius, but now it's going to be to Tom Stevens. On to the start-finish straight once again. We're on board with Jake Dennehan. Dennehan going through on the right-hand side. McGorgy giving Dennehan the slipstream. They're going to lock wheels. There's 3 wide. Wow! Somehow they make it through. That looked like a massive crash in the making. I was expecting at least 2 of the 3 of them to go skittering off there. So Dennehan second. It's a TCS off 1-2. And McGorgy is third. And Tom Stevens is fourth. McGorgy's driving really well here, really aggressively. He has lost places, but his defence has been very good. It's just that the might of the TCS off racing cars has been too much so far. Andre is checking out 2 seconds up the road now. Although Dennehan is the fastest car. Moritz Kropp on the tail of Amari Watson. That is sometimes an overtaking opportunity there into the double right-hander. If 2 drivers take different lanes and one of them finds themselves alongside the other one, then often a move can be pulled out, but it's tricky. Another brief yellow flag excursion. Philip Koenig has just retired from the race. There's been an accident there. And he's missing his front wing. Now that happened in a very similar way to Frank Hamming's mistake earlier on, except unlike Hamming, Philip was not able to keep it out the barriers. Another lap goes by. The leaders this time not changing positions. So it's Andre leading from Dennehan, who has a big slide over the crest of the hill. McGorgy third. Stevens fourth. Then Watson and Kropp. And there's no longer a DRS train from the leader, although Dennehan's DRS train extends all the way back to, wow, all the way back to P10. And if you're wondering what I mean by the DRS train, that is the line of cars up until the point where there's a gap of over 1 second between cars, if that makes sense. 1 second being DRS range. Yellow flag in sector 1. A couple of drivers a lap down now. Vincent Gutt and Arda Erkan just went side by side. Arda able to get up into the crucial P15 position. Another lap done. Dennehan keeping the gap very steady to Andre. They're setting pretty much the same laps at this point in time. Owen McGorgy and Tom Stevens and the rest of the pack basically waiting to pounce. Here's the fight I was just talking about. Erkan versus Gutt. Gutt going straight back through again. That's over the last points paying position. Gutt does not make the corner. Erkan may feel a little robbed of that place actually, because you are supposed to keep the corner, keep between the white lines, especially after making an overtaking move like that, but anyway. Here's Clont and Kardash, little touch. Kardash breaks earlier to make way for Meadow Clont, who runs slightly wide. Kardash gets a better exit to the corner. Ooh, but a twitch over the crest of the hill. In the Formula Sprint 2 race the other day, there were plenty of cars going skittering off at that part of the circuit. Especially in practice, they kind of sorted out their act by the race, but anyway. Amari Watson lining up Tom Stevens. I'm not sure this is going to be a chance for him because Stevens as well. I mean, he would be quite vulnerable if it wasn't for the DRS of McGorgy up ahead. But now he's thinking more about attack than defense. And Kardash is about to go for a move on Clont. Yes, Meadow Clont. P11 he goes. And look at that! Sorry, there's a car coming through on the inside as well. And that was Mateusz Jabinski. Almost locking wheels with Clont. Would have spun him around if they had. Taking a look. Ooh. Scratching the better part of Valor and all that. 10 laps of this race already done, or nearly done, because we're on the 10th lap. Andre leading, followed by Denahan, McGorgy, Stevens, Watson, Crop, Muscat, Quint, Ragosa and Patterson at the top 10. It's been an excellent race so far for the TCS off drivers, although they have a little bit of traffic now. Versus Miram's just had an off, that's at turn 6. And he recovers down in P19. And ignore that car giving way to all of these cars flying through. Denahan lapping a back marker. And that's Sava Panisenko giving way. And yeah, the other car that we saw giving way just earlier on was Justin van der Smissen, who now passes Panisenko around the outside for P25. It's interesting seeing those back markers having a fight amongst themselves while also trying to get out of the way of the front runners. That can often be a really dangerous point for the front runners, because sometimes the back markers just do not want to give way. But at this point they know that their race has been pretty much slashed, unless there's very heavy attrition from now on. So they're actually being quite well behaved there, considering the circumstances. Another yellow. Now some of these yellows at this point may just be drivers, and Justin van der Smissen retires now. So van der Smissen, who we just saw giving way to the leaders, has now given up or had an accident or something. But yeah, some of the yellows now, I was just about to say, maybe back markers getting out the way of the leaders and stopping to let them through or something. As for van der Smissen, he did have a crash. It was on the exit of turn 6. I wonder if he was going too slow. Oh, sorry. No, that looked as if McGorgy was going to have a look on Denahan, but wasn't really a proper opportunity. Anyway, I wonder if he was maybe going a bit too slowly and then his tyres got too cold or something. It's definitely a possibility, but anyway. Whatever the case, 3 cars down, 25 to go. We're getting into the stage of a race where they've got to start thinking about pit stops. This circuit is actually quite high on tyre wear. There are a lot of difficult corners where you lead with the front. The front tyres do not like this circuit. There's one of them. It's the front left you've got to be mainly wary of. The double left-hander as well. You've really got to lead with the front through here. Ooh, Kardash has a spin. Kardash just went round from P11. He's now down to P13. The battle for second. 5 cars illuminated on your bottom right there, but actually there's even more cars in this train. The DRS train encompassing Mike Quint and Alexander Ragosa behind them as well, and Jason Muscat's in there in P7. Across the start-finish line, are any of these drivers going to go for a move this time around? Crop had a little think about it, didn't he? On Amari Watson. They see the social medias, hashtag GPVWC and hashtag Formula Sprint 1. And Eronwinen has a penalty. Not sure what for, but has just been given it. Damien Kardash into the pits now for a set of hard tyres. And I was just starting to say that this is about the point in the race where we're going to see the first few pit stops. Kardash's hand was sort of forced a little because he had a spin on that last lap, so his tyres would have been pretty bad by that point. And since his pit stop wouldn't have been much further into the race anyway, I guess it just seemed like the right kind of time to make a stop. Andre's lead now out to 3 seconds as Denahan continues to defend from McGorky, Stevens, Watson, Crop, basically the rest of the pack at this point, apart from the drivers who were involved in incidents earlier on. And look at this. This is Tom Stevens up the right-hand side of Owen McGorgy along the start-finish straight. McGorgy not wanting to give him any room whatsoever. And they touch wheels, and McGorgy runs wide and rejoins behind Tom Stevens. Yes, he does. So Tom Stevens goes through into third place. A rough move, but you've got to say McGorgy was instigating the roughness there on the start-finish straight. Stevens goes defensive, but look at that dive! McGorgy coming back at him, sells him the dummy. This is really hard, but also quite fair between the two of them. I haven't seen anything outrageous yet. Tom Stevens up to P3. Owen McGorgy, P4, has Amari Watson to contend with. Now, if Watson has had one real issue so far this season, it's been overtaking, because he's had a lot of pace, although hasn't quite been able to get past these young guns at any point. Will that change today? Through turn 14 towards Galp. And no one electing to stop except, never mind, the race leader. So Darius Andre comes in for the hard compound of tyre. On the straight, we've got cars making moves as well. Watson and Crop. So Crop on the outside. They bang wheels slightly as well. Towards turn 3 now. A twitch. They survive. Over the crest of the hill, you've got to be single file through there. Moritz Crop makes a move. That's up to P4 now. For the time being, Jason Muscat wants a piece of the pie. Backs out of it. Darius Andre, meanwhile, has come out in relatively clean air, although he will catch Vincent Gutt in not that much time. So it's clean air for now. Watson and Crop fighting. Down into the double right-hander. And you see how much time a battle like that can cost you, because Watson was right on the back of Owen McGorgy, and now he's 1.4, 1.5 seconds behind him, and there's a car between them as well. It's why these drivers all fight so hard for these positions, because if you lose one, you lose every car on the circuit. Now, this is not just happening on your screen, dear viewer. It looks to me as if we have a problem with the server. And if that is the case, we'll have to leave it up to the race stewards to decide what happens next. But bear with us here, because all of the cars have just disappeared. Now, I have seen this happen before. Sometimes what happens is it's declared as effectively a red flag, and then it's restarted from, say, a lap before or a lap after, and all the drivers are able to start on whatever tyres they like. But right now, we've got to wait and see what's actually going to happen here, and what the race director decides. Now, all of the drivers out there would have been a little concerned about that. They would have been like, oh my goodness, I just disconnected. Was that only me? But no, it's everyone. There has been a big problem here with the server. Can't remember when the last time this happened was. Now, I'm scanning the Discord channels to see if there's anything that's been decided by the race directors. The race director is currently in the race directing lounge, along with some other people from the race, some other people involved, probably talking the situation over with them. And we will update you on what's going to be happening as soon as we can. And this is a really, really bad situation, because if they do have to restart the race basically from where we were, the order that we were in, it'll close up the gaps, and the driver that it will affect most is definitely Darius Andre, because he has already made his pit stop. He will be starting from way back in the pack. With that being said, though, if the other drivers are still required to make their pit stops, then Andre has a massive advantage. Still waiting for confirmation from the race director as to what happens next. I presume that their first objective will be to get the server restarted, get something up, just so that we know we will be able to restart the race. Mike Bell saying, "No, I'm winning, everyone else disconnected," in the Discord chat. Yeah, it may seem like that on his view, actually. Whoa! And everyone has reappeared! Has the race been going on this entire time? Are we seeing some... I don't know what we're seeing right now. Whether this is something... It looks as if we're further into the race now. I thought that was something that everyone was experiencing. It was also on race view. That's bizarre. So everyone has now reappeared. It looks as if they've been racing this entire time. Oh goodness, some debris over the circuit there. There's been a big crash for someone. That was Menno Klont there, I'm afraid. So Menno Klont out of this race. I'm just really confused because... So these drivers must have been able to see the server. They must have been able to see each other. Mike Bell was chatting in the Discord. He's still in the race. Was he typing that while driving or what? Okay, well with the confusion we've got to assume that what we see... And they've all disappeared again. Surely at this point this isn't just an issue that we're experiencing on the broadcast. I'm experiencing it too, and I'm on the server. Race views died again, but yeah, we had that before and everyone reappeared. Well, I mean, will we maybe... I'm really confused. Really, really confused. Now, surely they've got to red flag the race, because other drivers are now reporting it. The Discord chat suddenly looking as if people are realizing there's a server problem. And we're trying to work out what the drivers actually saw there and what's going on. And if the race does restart, does it restart from the order they were in before the first disconnection, just in case there were drivers that were affected by it, or does it restart from the second disconnection? Okay, well, I don't know if there's any point taking a break right now, because we don't know how long it's going to be, and I don't want to make you all wait, especially since I was going to go for a break after race 1 as well, but I think that's pretty much all we can do right now. I don't want to keep waffling on when I have literally no idea what's actually happening. So I think it looks like we're going to have to go for a short break. Don't go anywhere. There is a real chance that we're going to be going racing again for at least one more race. And I guess we'll see you again when we have a clue what's going on. Don't go anywhere. Hello everyone, thank you for sticking with us. We are back at Portimao. Now what you're seeing on your screen right now is not a race, so don't panic if you see anyone go spinning off or anything like that. I'm going to update you on exactly what happened in a few seconds. I'm just waiting to see, hopefully more people will jump back into the broadcast as we get closer to the restart. If you could all, tag your friends, ping them, let them know that we are indeed coming back, then that would be very much appreciated. And yeah, thank you very much for your patience. I know that this has been a very long red flag period, especially by Simracing standards, but we do have a restart that is coming up. Okay, so let me explain to you all how this is working. Now initially, they said they were going to declare a result after 18 laps of the race, because that was over 50% of the way through, and after 50% you can declare a result. The trouble with that is that some drivers had already pulled off the road when they saw that there was a disconnection and DNF'd, and they decided that in the interest of fairness it would be wrong to decide that the race was realistically still going on at that point. In reality, the race probably stopped at around the 15 lap mark, and that is where they've decided to take the initial or the provisional results from. Although that is before the 50% mark, meaning that we are going to restart this race. So there is going to be 18 laps of the race remaining. Now, the trouble here is that there is still a little bit of unfairness involved. There were a couple of drivers, notably Darius Andre, who had pitted, and the drivers who had made their pit stops already will now be at a massive disadvantage, because there is a free choice of tyre to the end, meaning that theoretically anyone who can go the full distance will go the full distance without making a pit stop. You do not have to make a pit stop now. And that means that it's going to be basically a straightforward dash to the finish. We will have 18 laps remaining, making this effectively like a back-to-back sprint race meeting. Of course, with the caveat that part of this race's results has already been decided or affected by what we've seen in the first half. Also, drivers who DNF'd in the first part of the race, there were 3 DNFs when we last saw that, will not be allowed to rejoin. So you can't rejoin if you DNF'd in the first part. Now, who this also helps is drivers who were a lap down, because I think that means that they are now going to be officially on the same lap as the others, although I think the race director still has the option to add a lap, or to remove a lap, sorry, from their position at the end of the race. It's things like this that are really, really complicated when you get a red flag situation. And sometimes it's a case of reading the rules, but at other times there's a little more interpretation to be had. For example, in the first part of the race, when did the racing actually stop? That was a matter of interpretation. And there are some drivers who are going to be feeling a little peeved about what happened, and there are some drivers who this has really helped. Hopefully, though, everyone can understand the decision that Chris Williamson, the race director, has made to restart this race with 18 laps remaining. I personally think that this is the best thing that he could have done. I was actually, I joined the race director's lounge briefly to hear what was being said. And I said to Chris that, whatever you do, I'll totally respect it, because I know you've got a tough job right now. Although I personally would restart the race from lap 15. And that is what Chris Williamson is doing. And I just want to say, thank you for sorting it out. It's not very often we do give shout-outs to the race directing and the whole GPVWC team, the management team. But at times like these, I'd say they really earn their money, but actually they do it completely voluntarily. And that is quite amazing considering the amount of races we have here at GPVWC and the amount of time that they have to put into this. Chris Williamson is a living legend. In other updates about what happened during the red flag period, the Formula Sprint 1 Discord chat went wild. Drivers asking what happened and asking for clarification on what's going to happen when the session restarts. And unfortunately, I lost a game of tic-tac-toe to Alex Laho, which I'm very embarrassed about, but I will blame that on Szymon distracting me. Okie dokie, the drivers are now on the grid and will soon be able to head away for the restart. 25 drivers will restart this race from the 28 who started the initial race. It's good to see all 25 of them showing up, actually, because sometimes with red flag periods you get people storming off, not realising that the race is going to restart. But we do have all 25 drivers here, or we did, but Darius Andres just left the server. Is he coming back? Hopefully. Because this is a race that he will be feeling that he should have won. He had a 3-second lead, then pitted, and then the red flag happened at absolutely the wrong moment for Darius Andre. And now he has left the server, presumably through something connection related. And the formation lap is now underway. Now, recently we've been seeing a what's the word I'm trying to think of? A pre-set? Something like that. We've seen it done, but if drivers have left just before the formation lap and then the formation lap has got underway, they have not been allowed back before the start of the race. Anyway, let's take a look at the revised starting order. This is how they finished in the first part. Jake Dennehan will be leading, followed by Tom Stevens, who is not in the Friesland car. I don't know why it's liveried like that. And then it's Owen McGorgy and Moritz Kropp, Amari Watson, Jason Musker. All of these cars are wrong. That's weird. Craig Patterson and then Matthias Jubinski. Or at least some of them are wrong. Menno Klont, P9. Frank Hamming, P10. Then Arda Erkan and Vincent Gert. And please ignore the liveries that you're seeing there, because they've all been put in the wrong cars. Mike Quint will be P13, followed by Martin Buchan, then Alexander Ragosa and Mike Bell. If Buchan can finish there, that'll be E-Team Brit's first points of the season. Then it's Damien Kardash, Luke Mitchell, Gerrit de Vries and Perseus Miram. And then outside of the top 20, Sandro Van Sand, Scott Mitchell, Sophie Aronwinen and Seva Panasenko. And also in there somewhere would have been Darius Andre. But Darius has left the race and is running out of time to take the restart. If he did rejoin right now, he would have to restart from the pits. But it looks like he's out of the race. As tragically as it is, apparently his game crashed. Wow, so Darius Andre is having a horrendous day. It's almost tragic, actually. There are the tyres people are starting on. Most drivers electing to start on the hard tyres. But interestingly, Tom Stevens, and also Perseus Miram, but most notably Tom Stevens, are starting on the soft tyre. They believe they can go the full distance on the softest compound of tyre. Seva Panasenko lines up in 24th place. We look for the lights. Here they are. 5 red lights, and we go for a standing restart at Portimao. It's go once again. Down towards turn 1. Tom Stevens pulls into the slipstream of Dennehan almost immediately. Into turn 1 they go. Dennehan leads. Are they clean this time? There were a couple of spins. There are a couple of spins. Oh, and a big pile up further back. Vincent Gert is on his lid. Gert's out. Sandro Van Sand's lost his front wing. Quint's lost both wings. Mike Bell was involved. Gerrit de Vries, Scott Mitchell. They were both involved. The rest of the pack had got through relatively cleanly. Down into... Oh, look at that. McGorgy. Side by side with Kropp. Kropp is up to 3rd, but doesn't get the run out of the corner. And they're going to touch, and they're going to disappear! Not again! Every single car has once again disappeared from the race. And I think we've got... There's something going dreadfully wrong with the server today. And I'm not convinced that we're going to see any more of race 1. According to the rules, I mean, we haven't gone over the 50% mark, so if they can restart the race, they will. But to actually get a race in, you need to have a server that works. And right now, it looks as if we don't. I wouldn't be surprised if this race meeting is abandoned. Make sure you don't go anywhere, just in case it is not. This is hugely disappointing. The camera views changed there, but I think that was just the race director clicking on someone else. But yes, drivers in the Discord chat saying this should be called off. Darius Andres annoyed. His game disconnected before everyone else's. Now, I don't know if they could actually declare the result now. If they did, I'm not... Would it be half points, or would it be... I'm really not sure, but anyway, it looks as if race 1 may be over, with the most unsatisfactory of results that we have ever seen in GPVWC. But if we don't have a server that works, we can't go racing. This is not the fault of any particular person within GPVWC. The race director has done everything that he can, and I'm sure will continue to do everything that he can to see if we can go racing once again. Broadcast team has no control over the pictures that you're seeing. We can't see any of the cars, and so we can't commentate on anything. Alex Lahari saying this race is going to end past my bedtime. Alex, I'm sorry, I'm not sure it's going to finish at all here. This isn't, of course, confirmation. Only the race director will be able to let us know whether the race is actually going to restart or not. But once again, this is the 3rd time we've seen this happen so far in just one race. And like this, we simply cannot race. I'm expecting an announcement any moment now, but anyway, let's take a look at the YouTube chat quickly. Oh yeah, people saying, oh no, and oh boy, broken again. Yes, indeed. Well, we apologize. The server has now completely crashed. We would go for another break, but again, I'm expecting an announcement any second now. This is not the way we wanted to end this broadcast, and I'm sorry I can't keep you guys any more entertained than this. We would all like to be watching some racing right now. If you don't want to see some more racing, I think now would be... Oh, Chris Williamson, sorry, is typing in the Formula Sprint 1 chat. It looks as if we might be about to get an announcement. Several people are typing, yes indeed. A lot of spam going on. Yeah, if you do want to watch some more racing, now would be a good time to go and watch one of the previous GPWC races, either in FS1 or any of our other series. Chris Williamson says, unfortunately, I'm going to have to call it there, folks. So that, I'm afraid, is the end of racing here today. The event has been cancelled. Now, the only questions that remain are, is anyone going to be given points for this? Or is this going to be a completely cancelled round? I suspect and hope it's the latter. I don't think it's fair for anyone to get points for this. Because yes, and as much as they did, race for it in the early stages, it was nowhere near long enough to be considered a full Formula Sprint 1 race. And there were some drivers who were very badly affected by that. Yes, so it looks as if that is indeed the end of racing for today. Chris Williamson has called it. And I couldn't say it any better than what Jason Muska has just typed in the Discord chat. Chris and all the GPWC team, thanks for everything you guys do. No matter what, I know you always do the best that you can. Points for race 1 will be taken on countback from when the server issue happened, says Chris. So that demonstrates that there will be points, probably half points. This is not a completely cancelled round. But yes, there is going to be no more racing today. Anyway, while we sort all of this out, I think it's time for us to say goodbye. Thank you very much to... Sorry, what was that, Szymon? Okay, let's take a look at the calendar. Sorry, just quickly. Let's take a look at the schedule for the next race meeting. If we can. There we go. There's the race calendar. We've already done, well, three and a bit rounds, but it's we've got 3 street circuits in a row next, 2 proper street circuits, Azerbaijan and Monaco. And then, of course, you have the race on public roads, although not really streets, around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Then the British Grand Prix follows that up and takes us to the halfway point in the season. Don't miss the Azerbaijan round in 2 weeks' time. And also, next week we have not just the Super Lights race, which Szymon is going to be in, but also the Super League race, the big one, the Portuguese Grand Prix, which hopefully, touching wood, will go the full distance. Thank you all for bearing with us today. I really do apologise that we couldn't bring you the race that we promised, but whatever the case, we did what we could. Thank you to the race directors. Thank you to all of the drivers and teams as well for putting up with this rubbish. And unfortunately, that's all we can do. So from us today, it's goodbye.